So it's official, we are going into the second week of 2022 without a single conversation between the owners and the players. Well, I do have a little bit of good news. I can't believe I'm even saying this, but I've heard through the grapevines that a conversation is about to be had between Robert Manfred, the owners, as well as the Players Association. And the only thing that I can say is I'm crossing my fingers, I'm praying to the baseball gods that it's at least a productive conversation, because the last time these parties met up and had a conversation, it was awful. It lasted 7 minutes and then they bounced from the hotel. The lockout ensued and we haven't had any news to talk about in over a month. It's been terrible. Like, realistically, I haven't really had a job for a month and a half. Like, I'm trying to create fun videos, but anyways, that's a different story for a different day. What I want to talk about in today's video is what's really going on between each side. I want to discuss what the owners are proposing as well as the Players Association, because right now there's just a lockout and everyone is confused as to why there is a lockout. What are the owners asking for? What are the players asking for in return? So we're going to do that right now. We're going to talk about what each side is expecting from the other. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about what the owners want in this new CBA, a collective bargaining agreement. And to be honest with you guys, they don't really want much to change, and I don't really blame them, because as recent as 2019, their revenue went from like $4 billion to almost $11 billion. So they're saying, hey, we're chilling, we're making a ton of money, we don't want much to change. The only things that they're kind of hoping is improved, I put that in air quotations because I don't know if they're improvements. First and foremost, they want expanded playoffs. The reason why: Major League Baseball makes a crap ton of money once the playoffs actually start. The reason why: they get 100% of the TV revenue. Now the players, they get a portion of the gate revenue and other things like that. So they want an expanded playoffs. They don't want 18 playoffs. They don't want 10. They want 12 teams, about 40% of Major League Baseball teams, to make the playoffs. And a lot of people are saying, hey, that would ruin the competitive balance of Major League Baseball, because you could be a sub 500 team like the Astros in 2020 and make the playoffs. But then again, the Astros almost made the World Series, so maybe it would be a good thing. Teams that were underperforming because of injuries or things like that, they'd have a chance of making the playoffs because they finally got healthy at the right time. So that is the first and really the only thing that the owners want. And I guess the second thing, they're just doing it as a thank you for compromising with us. The owners, if they get expanded playoffs, in return, they will allow the Universal DH to come to both leagues, the American League as well as the National League. And then also in tandem, they would reduce the season from 162 games to 154 games. So in a nutshell, the owners don't really want anything to change because they're making money on top of money. They are cashing out like really no other league in professional sports in terms of just how much they've made on a year-to-year basis. They just want more teams in the playoffs, and in doing so, they're gonna make billions extra over the course of 5 or 6 years. It's gonna be nuts if that actually happens. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what the players and the Players Association want to change in 2022 and beyond, because they definitely have a lot of gripes with the owners and what they've been able to do very shadily over the last few seasons with service time manipulation and just taking advantage of younger or even veteran players by not paying them as much. So Max Scherzer, he summed it up pretty well. He basically said they will not be signing off on anything unless tanking. Again, if you don't know what tanking means, that just is like the Pirates spending $7 million in a single, I'm being dramatic, it's not actually $7 million, but we'll talk about the Pirates in just a moment. Teams putting out the worst team possible so they can make more money and not have to pay superstar players and make the playoffs. They just want to stay bad and collect money from other teams. And also, Max Scherzer said that if young players are not getting paid more and sooner, again, they're not going to sign it. So again, small little recap before we get into the thick of things. Max Scherzer and the Players Association, they will not be signing anything unless tanking is decentivized and young players, they have to get paid sooner and with a lot more in the bag. Okay, first and foremost, tanking / competitive balance. The biggest example that I can give, the Pittsburgh Pirates. If you did not know, at the beginning of the 2021 season, the Pirates were given $70 million by other teams because Major League Baseball has a system in place where they share revenue. So teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Red Sox and the Phillies, teams that are spending a buttload of money, have to share some revenue with the teams that are not making a lot of money. The Pirates, the Guardians, the Marlins, teams like that. Hey guys, it's Fuzzy from the future. I got my math wrong, so I wanted to make sure I corrected this portion of the video. The Pirates, they were 28th in payroll and they spent about $54 million. So before the season even started, they were already in the green. They were in the positive because they were gifted $70 million from other teams. They got to spend more. And whether they would be a good team if they spent that $70 million or not, that's up for you to decide. I think they would be a whole lot better, but they've always done this. And that's why Max Scherzer and the Players Association, they have an issue with some of the owners. For example, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the biggest deal, this is something that I saw online. I think it's correct, but I could be wrong. You guys can point it out in the comment section down below. The most that the Pirates have ever spent on a free agent was Francisco Liriano, 3 years, $40 million. In the history of the Pirates, or at least maybe in the last 2 decades, the most that they've ever spent on a single player was $40 million over the course of 3 seasons. Max Scherzer is going to make that this year. The Mets are shilling out money left and right. And again, on one single player, they beat the franchise record for one player signed by the Pirates. Now, another team that has really tried to skate by with the same method, the Cleveland Guardians, my team, the most that they have ever spent on a free agent, Edwin Encarnacion, who isn't even with the team anymore. They gave him 3 years, $60 million. So most likely Jose Ramirez is gone. Shane Bieber is gonna walk. Francisco Lindor, Carlos Carrasco, Manny Ramirez, Cliff Lee, CC Sabathia, all of these guys up and left because we just saw it right there. The most that the Cleveland organization has ever spent on a single player in one free agency was $60 million to Edwin Encarnacion. The Rays are really the only, I actually should put Cleveland in the conversation as well. Cleveland, they make good trades, same with Tampa Bay, but they don't spend any money. So the first issue, tanking, competitive balance. Max Scherzer and the Players Association, I don't know if they're asking for a salary floor where they're expecting every team to spend at least $70 million, but they don't want a 2021 Pirates ever again. Max Scherzer, he's kind of like the head of the Players Association. He wants to make sure that young players get paid sooner. We also what happened with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Chris Bryant. Their respective teams manipulated the heck out of their service time, so they would reduce time for players to reach free agency, and most players don't even make it because they're usually a free agent after 6 years. If you didn't know, the average lifespan for a Major League Baseball player is 3.5 years. So that's exactly why young players come in, they have their moments, and then they're not picked up by other teams. They're out of baseball before they're able to hit free agency. Now, one way that they could kind of fix this is reduce time for a player to reach arbitration. Arbitration is very simple. It's when a player is able to showcase his stats to an arbiter and the team and say, hey, I had the same stats as Andrew McCutchen, so I deserve to get paid like Andrew McCutchen. So let's say a player is in year 2. If they reduce this arbitration time to year 2 instead of being 3 or 4 years into baseball, they can get paid more and sooner. So let's say you're not Fernando Tatis Jr. or Ronald Acuna Jr., guys that have gotten extensions and were able to avoid free agency because their team and their agents, they worked on a deal. Guys like Aaron Judge was making $500,000, which is a lot to us, but to a professional baseball player who is putting up MVP numbers, that is chump change. So I'm really happy that they're deciding to bring this to the forefront because young players, honestly, in other leagues, NFL, NBA, they get paid a whole lot more and a whole lot sooner into their contract or even just their career in general. So the two biggest things, we have tanking / competitive balance. The Players Association, they want bad teams to stop being so bad on purpose because they're being gifted millions and millions of dollars to use it and they're not doing so. And then also young players, the association wants to make sure that they're able to make more money sooner because a lot of young guys, they're out of the league before 4 years. free agency usually starts at about 6 years, and a lot of these teams are just manipulating the service time and allowing themselves to not pay these guys what they are actually deserving. And the final thing, really, it's not something that you guys are going to really pay attention to, but the association, they want the luxury tax to be increased. So essentially, it's not a salary cap, but it tries to act as one. So let's say the Dodgers. I believe the salary cap for 2021 was upwards of $200 million, and the Dodgers exceeded that. So they want to be able to increase that because the revenues of Major League Baseball are also increasing, so they want them to correlate. That one's kind of confusing because if you increase the luxury tax, I feel like the teams like the Cleveland Guardians and the Pirates, they would sit back and think, why are we going to spend more money if the Dodgers can go out and spend $300 million and not get punished for it when we can only spend $60 million? So that one, I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but if it does, hey, more power to the players. All right, so let's do a small little fast cap. The owners, again, they don't really want much change, and if anything does change, they want the expanded playoffs anywhere from 10, 12 to 14 teams, and the universal DH as well as a 154 game schedule would be issued in return as a compromise. The players, they want tanking to get fixed, competitive balance. They want young players to get paid sooner because, again, the average lifespan of a major league player is about 3.5, 4 years. So free agency, they want to start at around 3 or 4 years. Arbitration maybe after the first year if they put up huge numbers. And then also they want the luxury tax to be increased because the revenue of baseball is increasing exponentially. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys have an understanding when I say they're coming together for a conversation. This is what they're arguing back and forth for. So thank you guys. I hope you learned something new. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.